Sony, you really just dropped the ball on this. This used to be my prized possession, and now it's just inconvenient. I've had the PlayStation Portal for over a year, and it's become one of my favorite tech pieces, or just gaming pieces of tech in general, ever. I love this thing, I've played it so much, and I'm considering selling it. First thing I want to say, one of the biggest strengths that this handheld has over any other handheld is just the comfort of it. As you can see, there's space, negative space in here, so that you can actually wrap your hands around the controller and your fingers don't hit like a back of the device, causing you to change your grip. You can grip this thing however you feel is most comfortable. It pretty much has the same exact shape as the regular DualSense 5 controller. One of the best and one of the most comfortable controllers of all time. Same type of buttons, same type of trigger. The sticks are a little bit smaller, and honestly, it's not that big of an issue. Something that you get used to pretty quickly. I hardly ever notice. I go back and forth between my Portal and my regular PlayStation all the time, and I've never once felt like, oh, these sticks are way too small for me to play with. Then again, I might have small hands, but that's just my opinion on it. Another thing too, the screen, the display on it is pretty big. It's, I think it's around 7 to 7.5. This is the biggest advantage that it has over remote playing on something like your phone or your tablet. Obviously, your phone screen is too small for gaming, and sometimes you need to read text and the text will just be too small, so you're just like hitting one of those, you know? And then if you were to remote play on a tablet, you get black bars on the top, bottom, and maybe sometimes the side. This, on the other hand, is full screen. You don't have to deal with either of those problems. So you get the nice full screen image, and it's big enough so that you can read any small text that you may need to read, and it's more comfortable in general. The screen on a phone is just so small, and then on top of that, you get the black bars on the side, so it doesn't even take up the whole screen. The adaptive triggers, these are so-so. I find that it feels like a cheaper version of what we get in the DualSense 5. It doesn't feel as premium as the regular controller does, but it's there. It's just not as good as it should be, and it just feels cheap. I appreciate it being there, but it just, I don't know. Something about it just doesn't sit right with me. I'm really picky about that type of stuff, as you can see. But yeah, it's there, it's nice, it's fully featured. It just, something about it just doesn't like have that impact that the DualSense 5 does. I'm gonna stop rambling about that. But the vibrations in here too also feel pretty cheap. When you're playing on the DualSense 5, you get more richer, detailed vibrations, like things like rain and like little pieces of debris hitting your character just feel more nuanced. Whereas this one, it just feels like a PS4 Rumble Pack or something like that, which are okay, they're okay. Once you go from the DualSense 5 to this, it leaves quite a lot to be desired. So I would rate the haptics on these like maybe like a 6.5 out of 10. They're not the worst, but they're definitely not at the level that they should be. The speakers, these two little bad boys right here kind of suck in my opinion. So the reason that I say that they suck is because I feel like the volume of these things don't have a good scale, for lack of better words. What I'm basically trying to say is when you're trying to have the volume really low, it's too quiet. And then when you're in the middle, it's pretty loud. And then when you're at the highest form of volume that you can get, it's not loud enough. So it just kind of feels like you can never get the volume to the exact level that you want it, and it's so frustrating. I don't think the speakers have the best quality. They sound kind of tinny to me, which is honestly disappointing since Sony makes some pretty good audio devices. Maybe it's just my experience, but I find it really hard to get it to the exact volume level you want it. Now in terms of the gameplay experience, the most important part, of course. When I first got this thing, I did some demos on my phone with remote play to see if this was something that I should even consider buying, see if I had the strong enough internet that I needed to, you know, make this an enjoyable experience. And I did, so I went and bought one. And when I bought one and I used it, it was so good. The experience was damn near one-to-one. Whenever I played games like Elden Ring or Doom or something like that, the latency was barely noticeable. The resolution was 1080p, so it made everything crystal clear on a 7-inch display. I wish it was maybe a little bit more, but then again, I don't know. I don't know if we would need that. I just noticed a bit of a difference, but that's not the worst thing. At the beginning of this life cycle, like I said, I've had this thing for about 1.5 years now, and there's been many updates that have followed through. For a while, every update that we got seemed to make the gameplay smoother and smoother and smoother, until one day we got an update that just kind of bricked our portals. It was something that was taking over the PlayStation Portal subreddit. Everybody was having this issue with I think it was the 5.0 update, where you would just try to connect to your PlayStation 5 and it just wouldn't work. For a while, my portal was bricked, so I went and got a Steam Deck. I did a video on that a couple months ago. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I ended up sticking with the portal, but there's some reasons why in there. I pretty much put them head to head. So check it out if you haven't. Anyways, they pretty much bricked our portals, and there was no official statement or anything from Sony, no hotfix, no nothing. It was like this for like 2 months. One day I figured out that all I had to do was take my PlayStation, which was hardwired to the Ethernet, and just run it through Wi-Fi. Suddenly my portal can connect now, but it's not as smooth as it was before because now I'm not on Ethernet. And I'm just like, damn, like I could play this, but I'm hoping that eventually they, release an update that allows me to use Ethernet again. And a couple months go by and it's still not there. At this point, I'm used to just playing on Wi-Fi. It's like natural to me now, it's no big deal. Then I tried again recently, and the Ethernet is just not as stable as the Wi-Fi now. So now the Wi-Fi is not as stable as the Ethernet, and the Ethernet is not as stable as the Wi-Fi, which it used to be the Ethernet was the most stable form you could play. Sony keeps releasing updates that kind of fuck with how this device is meant to work, and it just keeps breaking over and over again. Now, I played most of my Death Stranding 2 playthrough on the portal, which is something I would have not been able to do had I had to sit down at my desk and play for a couple hours. This thing helps me chew through large games, which is like indispensable, because at this point in my life, without a handheld, I don't think I'd be gaming much. But at this point with the portal, we are receiving updates that break the portal's main function. It makes it less reliable. And then when you do connect to it, the resolution is going up and down. It's not as sharp as it was before. It's not as stable as it was before. The latency isn't as unnoticeable as it was before. And now this is becoming more of like a cumbersome experience than just sitting at my desk, which is kind of defeating the purpose of why I bought this. Now, I may double back on one of my previous videos. I may have to end up giving this up and getting a Steam Deck again because it's just too inconsistent now. Sony, you really just dropped the ball on this. This used to be my prized possession, and now it's just inconvenient. To add to the fact, I didn't even cover the battery life yet. The battery life on this thing is pretty horrible. I don't know if mine is defective or maybe the battery just got wear and tear over a year, but I'll have this thing at 100% while I'm gaming. I feel like it drops 1% per minute. So you get a little bit over like an hour or around 2 hours of gameplay before this thing is done, which sucks. Not that I have an hour or two a day to game anyways, but here's where the big problem is. When you have this thing asleep in rest mode, the battery drains crazy. The battery, I feel like, drains. This thing could be at 100% one day. If I don't use it until the next day, it'll be at 0. I don't know what's going on. It used to not be like that. Maybe it's another update that Sony dropped that broke the battery on this thing, but when I'm ready to game, this thing is not. I have to sit there and plug it in and wait like 40 minutes for it to charge fully just so I can get like maybe an hour's worth of gameplay. So that kind of just throws a wrench into my system and messes me up. Where I feel like if I had another device that was ready to go when I was ready to go, I could get more gaming in. And that's really all I care about when I have one of these. But yeah, it kind of sucks because this was my preferred way to play any game that I was ever interested in. Now it's just becoming a paperweight. So that is kind of my perspective on the state of the PlayStation Portal right now. If Sony can just fix this thing and stop breaking it, it would 100% still be worth purchasing now and years to come. But as it is right now, I just don't have the time or the patience anymore to deal with these broken updates. If you found this video helpful or informative in any way, shape, or form, please consider dropping a like down below. Subscribe to my channel. This is a handheld focused community. I also do things in the computing world and just tech in general. I love tech. If something interests me, I'm going to talk about it. So if that interests you, please consider subscribing. Leave a comment down below if you also have a PlayStation Portal and have been experiencing these issues, or if you've been considering buying one and maybe I changed your opinion or encourage you to buy one. Let me know. I'm all ears. I love talking with you guys. But that's going to be it for me for this video. Peace.